If the past is a prologue, and it surely is, the FBI and our intelligence agencies are covering up the motive for the attempted assassination of President Trump. They've done it before. They did it with Stephen Paddock with the massacre in Las Vegas. To this day, no one knows anything, which is impossible. I believe that he was an undercover FBI agent or government agent of some sort, and that's why they covered it up. The FBI immediately raided his house in Mesquite, Nevada, and took everything out of it, and no one learned anything since. Also covered up was the Olympic bombing many years ago with Richard Jewell, and covered up before that were the anthrax attacks right after 9/11. I firmly believe that this attempted assassination was furthered by the Biden regime, top on down, from the White House, from the Department of Homeland Security, to the head of the CIA, Miss Cheedy, great name, certainly applies, to all the way up to other agencies as well that could have been involved. They didn't want their hands on it. They wanted somebody else to do the dirty work. They knew that there was going to be an attempted assassination. There was intelligence that Iranian forces, Iranian undercover agents were in the United States with plans to kill President Trump. So they wanted it to happen because that is the only way that President Joe Biden, a brain-dead criminal, could possibly be reelected without any competition at all to speak of. This is our government. Our government is corrupt to the core, top to bottom. The Republicans will play games on Capitol Hill. They'll run around like chickens without their heads. As usual, accomplish nothing other than play political games. But they won't get the correct information. It'll be buried, as has been the case for how many decades with regard to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, with regard to the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, the father of Bobby Kennedy Jr., who this day does not believe that Sirhan Sirhan was the person who murdered his father in a hotel in Los Angeles. It was covered up with regard to Martin Luther King. We really don't know the motive for that. This was something that has been kept secret all these years. One thing's true, they say about lawyers, how do you tell if they're lying? Answer, if their mouth is moving. Who comprises most of our government? Lawyers. I'm a lawyer. I'm the anti-lawyer. I know the corruption in the legal profession. I know the corruption in government. How many years did I spend in Washington, D.C. and still have to go there regrettably to fight the massive corruption that we face? Our nation is perhaps one of the most corrupt in the world. I think we're tied with Mexico and Nigeria in that regard. But we lie to ourselves. We pretend that we're honest, but we're not honest. Everything from federal judges on down to federal government officials. And this is why we need to remove immunity. I was not in favor of the Supreme Court saying there was immunity. I thought Trump could probably defend himself without that. There's no immunity that should go to anybody for anything, frankly. It's time that the American people rise up. We have with regard to Joe Biden and others. We indicted him at a citizen's grand jury. We convicted him at a citizen's trial that he failed to show up for. And he was sentenced to 20 years in prison, along with his brother and his son, Hunter Biden. We did the same thing with regard to Fauci. He got life imprisonment. It's time that the American people rise up, and it's time that so-called established law enforcement back up what we're doing at Freedom Watch and mete out the punishment peacefully and legally. In all states of this country, except for 2, there's a right of citizen's arrest, which means that certainly federal law enforcement with convictions and sentences can certainly carry it out. But the problem is people in this country lack guts. They just want to play games. And if you think you can just sit back and wait for President Trump to be reelected, that will solve everything, it won't, because the Democrats are not done. They'll have other things up their sleeve, perhaps even worse than what we saw last week. They want to hold onto power at all costs. And who has infested the Democratic Party like cockroaches, frankly, as an analogy? The left, the radical left, and just the left, because it's the same thing, whether it's socialists, communists, atheists, everyone who is against the vision and creation of our founding fathers, that wants to socialize this country and follow the teachings of Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto. That's who's in control right now. So we have to do whatever we can to fight against that, to restore our nation to greatness. And even if President Trump is elected, he'll only be there for 4 years. And the Democrats will do everything they can to block him. You ain't seen nothing yet. And on the day he is elected, if that happens, you'll see the left out in the streets. You'll see them armed. You'll see them killing. You'll see them maiming. You'll see them assaulting. You'll see them battering. You can count on it. You've seen it before that. This country will explode. So be ready. Be ready with your Second Amendment rights to defend yourself. But before we get to that point, we must use everything we can peacefully and legally to remove Biden and the evil Democrats from power. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute to our cause with tax-deductible contributions. We are your real Justice Department, not the disgrace of a Gestapo that occupies Main Justice, my former proud alma mater, and the FBI. And ask yourself this question. Why haven't we heard from the Attorney General Merrick Garland? Why haven't we heard from FBI Director Christopher Wray? Why? Because they're complicit in this attempted assassination, either through action or inaction. These people are criminals, and they need to be held accountable, and we have sued them in court. I want you to go to freedomwatchusa.org and contribute to our cause with tax-deductible contributions. These individuals would rather persecute peaceful protesters from January 6th than to get to the bottom of who tried to assassinate Donald Trump. And why is that? Because they're complicit. God bless you. God bless America. God save America. We must invoke the divine providence yet again to save this country, because the money changers of the temple are in control of our nation, and we have to weed them out, just like the Father and Son did. And we'll have to do it in their name. God bless you. God bless America. God save America. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, join our Justice League, sign up for our newsletters, become part of our citizens' army. Everything we do is peaceful and legal, but we take strong action. We just don't get documents. We do much more than that. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Until then, remember the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. Thank you for listening to me.